If you're anything like me, you just simply lack the funds to live and thrive. I never got to experience any kind of fun activity my whole life, like riding a roller coaster or going to a theme park. Instead, my whole time was spent scrounging up some cash so I could afford to eat, living off odd jobs, and eating ramen noodles. It's been a miserable experience so far. I don't even feel human. One day, while surfing the internet in my low-income apartment that I couldn't afford, I was browsing on my search engine for one of those survey links. You know, the ones that are supposed to give you some quick cash to answer a bunch of questions. I already did a bunch today, but it never hurts to do a couple more. I was about to close my laptop for the day when suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a strange link hidden in plain sight. A link simply named Metamorphosis Inc., looking for customer surveys, pay included. Metamorphosis Inc. sounds like a scam, I thought to myself as I decided to open the link anyways. It sounded like a scam to me, but it never hurt to check it out, just in case it really was real. I've seen strange company names like these before, usually ripping off other popular companies to trick fools into giving them money, but this specific name didn't seem like it was an obvious outright scam like the others. The website the link led me to didn't seem to bother with any sort of decorations or backgrounds, simply having their company name with some pages sprouting about and an inbuilt survey. I decided to click on their About Us page just to be sure it really wasn't a scam. What I saw on that page was intriguing. Metamorphosis Inc. is dedicated to making you the absolute best you can be. We provide a special pill treatment that promises to unleash the beast within you. This treatment will make you healthier, more lively, and ultimately a better version of yourself that all will see. We provide free treatment and payment with each survey finished and successfully authorized by our team. This is definitely some sort of placebo scam. Guess I'll try another site. I justified it to myself. After all, this was a scam. There was no way a simple pill could do all these things, and there was simply no way this was anywhere near legal. I decided to take their survey anyways just because I desperately needed the money. My rent was coming up quickly, and there was simply no way I could afford it without taking some risks. The survey was simple. Like all other surveys, it wanted me to put my name, my address, and my bank account number or card so they could transfer the money when finished. The survey had a lot of questions ranging from my physical appearance to my height, my age, and several other personal things. As I scrolled down through the question list, giving these strange potential scammers all my personal information, the questions started to get strange. What type of being do you wish to become? Do you prefer animal-type beings or humanoid beings? Do you want people to fear you or love you? What god do you believe in? Do you fear God? I should have quit the survey. I should have just closed my laptop and moved on with my life, but the questions were too intriguing. If this was a scam, it was a very strange and creative one. I felt compelled to keep going despite my gut warning me. I finally finished the survey, but the questions just kept getting weirder and weirder. Finally, do you regret being human? I simply gave a half-assed answer to the questions I thought were strange. I just wanted the money. Thank you for your time. Your treatment and payment will arrive soon, a pop-up said. I hope soon as this week, I anxiously thought to myself as I decided to go to bed for tonight. I would have to deal with rent and my landlord in a few days, and I hope that money, if any, would come soon. Tonight was terrible. I was tossing and turning all night, my thoughts just ruminating over those questions. Do you regret being human? Was stuck in my head. What do they mean by this? This was just a regular scam website, right? So then why all these strange questions? Then my thoughts turned to their About Us page. Unleash the beast within me. Do they mean that literally or metaphorically? I just didn't know. When I finally fell asleep, I had nightmares about being trapped in some sort of tight container filled with liquid. I was drowning. I couldn't breathe. I felt something within me stirring. A pair of wings broke the container. I looked outside. A bright light was blinding me. God was staring at me, and he wasn't happy. He grabbed hold of me with crushing pressure. I couldn't breathe. I'm dying. I woke up covered in sweat, lying on my mattress. It was just a nightmare, thank God, I thought to myself. I then did all my usual activities. I'd forgotten about the website until I checked my bank account and saw a transfer of $800,000 from Metamorphosis Inc. It wasn't a scam. I was thrilled. This money wouldn't just pay the rent, it could set me up for life. This was a heaven-sent miracle. I'm free. I had forgotten about the treatment they also promised when it was dropped off at my door by the local mailman. Just a simple brown package with the company name on it. I simply threw it into the trash and went outside to splurge with my newfound money. When I finally returned after a day of theme parks, delicious food, and simply the best day of my life so far, I failed to notice the package not in my trash, as I remembered, but on the counter where my medicine space was. It was then, when I went over to take my daily medicine for my anxiety, that I noticed the package sitting there plainly, as if I had put it there and never thrown it away. Didn't I throw that thing away early today, as I threw it back in the trash where it belonged before heading to bed? This night was a good one, filled with exciting dreams and good rest when I achieved my lifelong dream. However, when I woke up this morning, the apartment was a little off from what I remembered. Didn't I close that window fully? The window leading to my 2-story apartment was ajar, wide open, which was strange because I never opened that window fully. Then I noticed the unfamiliar dirty footsteps on the floor, which drove a disturbing ocean of fear into my heart. I called the police to report a break-in, but they couldn't do anything about it. There was nothing taken, and I was not harmed in any way. I was questioned, but they had to let me go because I didn't know anything. I made sure to lock all the doors in my house, especially the windows, when I left for a while. Now that I had money, it was a life of partying for me. A few weeks passed by with me no longer struggling to make rent, and the incident was far from my mind. My mind was still wandering with all the new things I could buy, like a house. I wanted to buy a house, but the economy these days is rough, and even with my newfound money, it would take a huge chunk out if I were to buy, so I decided to stay in my small apartment for now. I went to take the trash out when, yet again, I noticed the package missing from the trash, yet I couldn't find it anywhere in my apartment. Suddenly, my mind flashed to the incident a couple weeks ago. Could the intruder have to do with the pill moving? Maybe he stole it. Was that pill valuable after all? My question was answered when I found the package inside the garbage can hidden beneath the plastic bag. How'd this get under the bag? I questioned myself. I held up the package and took a deep look at it. It was a simple brown box with only the name of Metamorphosis Inc. written on it. Opening up the package, the pill itself was encased in a small aluminum bag with the company logo embroidered. There were also instructions included for the pill. The pill is intended to be swallowed with a glass of water. Do not chew or crush. Effects take about an hour to activate. Enjoy your new you. This looks shady as hell, I said, questioning my decision to take the survey. But hey, at least the money was great. I wanted to take out the pill to examine it, just to see what kind of pill it actually was. Maybe it was actually an illegal drug, and I'd stumbled upon a dark criminal website or something. I held the small pill between my fingers, looking for any identification marks. Again, the only etchings I saw on the actual pill were the company logo. This company really wants us to know who they are. I was going to get a magnifying glass and see if I could spot any traces of maybe anything hidden inside the pill when the biggest mistake of my life happened. I slipped on the plastic packaging of the treatment pill that I left on the ground, and the pill slipped down my throat and into my body. No. I started to panic. Was I going to die? My stomach was starting to heat up. This clearly wasn't any placebo I had ever swallowed. This was the real deal. I could feel the pill almost traveling through my body. This didn't feel like any pill I had taken before. My stomach was growing hot by the minute, and I started feeling sick. I reached for my phone to contact a doctor, but my fingers were shaking too hard to press any buttons, and I quickly lost feeling in that hand. Time passed, and I felt as if I was going to die. My entire body was shaking, I was sweating, and it felt as if I was melting inside and out. I tried so hard to contact emergency services, but my body was getting too sick to even move. Nothing was stable, and I felt as if I were liquefying inside. I started to pray, as that was all I could do, pleading for salvation and for me to survive. I fell to the ground, dropping my phone on the hard counter and cracking it as I fell. Now all I knew was pain. It almost felt like the pill was magnifying the pain in some way. Continually trying to get up failed, and my eyes slowly closed, and my world turned blurry and black. When my consciousness returned, I was relieved to be alive. The pill didn't kill me, and better yet, I didn't feel any sort of pain or heat in my body like before. Yet I was still terrified about what happened. I decided to look at myself in the mirror for any noticeable visuals, as it was probably too late for emergency services. I will see a doctor about this later in case of unseen side effects. What I saw in that mirror still haunts me to this day. My human skin sloughing off of me in chunks, I caught glimpses of some horrifying beast peeking in from beneath the decaying lumps of flesh. I looked at my hands only to see flesh hitting the floor with goopy chunks. I could see my red muscles beating, moving, and bleeding all over the floor. Standing there, I couldn't move. I was paralyzed with fear of what was happening. I dissociated, but nothing could save me from the truth. It was like a terrifying nightmare that felt all too real. I could only stare. The flesh that hit the floor quickly became gray lumps of dying life, no longer needed by the beast emerging. My new grotesque skin was black and pulsating and moving rapidly, but as I failed to comprehend what was happening to me, I felt my eyes itching. As this process was happening, I could start seeing what sort of monster I had become. First, a bird's eye peeked out when my human eyeball popped out of its socket and hit the floor. Then my other eye dangled out of its socket, then decayed and fell too. A wolf's eye peeked from the other side. Then it was my hands. Scale-like spikes tore through the gray flesh clumps and transformed my pre-existing hands into mush. I could see the veins inside my new see-through scales moving and attaching to each other. I had hands like a lizard but vaguely shaped like humans. Then my skull and my brain became exposed, but quick threads of abyssal black veins pierced through and sewed it shut. My hair fell off, leaving me temporarily bald, only to be replaced by rows and rows of sharp deer-like antlers. My jaw cracked and broke as rows of sharp, shark-like teeth grew inside. My torso had a gaping hole inside of it, and I could see my human heart being wrapped around by what could only be described as tentacles filling the hole that made up my torso. One of my legs crystallized, bones being transformed into what looked like seeping crystals, while the other sloughed off everything and detached. I nearly fell from my lost leg, but I caught myself. Then, flesh exploded from the gaping wound of my lost leg, forming a spider-like leg complete with sticky fur. But despite everything that was happening, that wasn't the worst part. The most horrifying, disturbing, and macabre part is that it felt good. I wasn't in pain, I didn't feel uncomfortable at all, and I felt as if everything was right with the world and I was in harmony. Everyone should feel this way. I had to wrangle control of my brain. I can feel those black veins crawling inside of me. They don't mean well, and I was afraid of what would happen if I let them win. When I finally regained control of myself, I screamed as loud and hard as I could. In my throes of suffering, my voice was deep and powerful. It was ancient and all-commanding, and it was no longer human. Then when I was no longer able to scream, my new horrific body sat in puddles of gray goop for what felt like hours, just trying to regain any sort of sense of myself. Unleash the beast within you. My mind's voice kept replaying over and over, but it wasn't my internal voice anymore. Even that was touched with this filth. Now it was deeper and more commanding. I need to find this company. I need to research and find out what to do next. My logical voice commanded me, but it was easier said than done. It was so hard to control this new body. Its weight was massive and unstable, and I struggled even to lift a toe. Eventually, after a few minutes of struggling, I managed to drag myself over to my laptop. My monstrous hands were cracking and tearing through the inbuilt keyboard until I managed to enter my search into the engine. What? Where's the link? I roared inside. Despair was brewing even harder inside of me. The link was gone. I even searched my history and tried every search-related term related to Metamorphosis Inc., and it's like it never existed. I attempted to cry, but this hideous filth was no longer capable. All my life, I felt like I wasn't human, and now officially, I am no longer human. I froze when I realized what this meant. No amount of dissociating or thinking would save me from the fact that I was a monster now. My friends, my family, I could no longer appear to anyone now. I had to hide forever, or else I would be killed and studied by the government. Freezing in my place, it was so hard to control my frantic and frenzied thoughts and worries. My mind was in a dungeon of suffering and there was no key to be found. I was interrupted by a loud knock on the door. "Hello, it's your landlord here. I have something for you to sign here." No, I thought. I couldn't allow anyone to see me. I had no clothes that would disguise me, as if any of them would fit anyway. My form froze. I just couldn't keep control of my emotions and body in this state. Unfortunately, I made the mistake of making a whimper that just happened to sound like a human voice. "I know you're in there. Please, come out. This is required paperwork. You can't ignore this." My landlord rapped on the door. "I'll be out there in a minute," I whimpered out. Even my voice had transformed. I couldn't hide now. "Who is that? I told you before that all visitors must be signed in. Now I'm forced to check in on you." My landlord opened the door, but not before dropping all his papers in shock. The old man was petrified with fear by what he saw. "I'm so sorry, I couldn't control myself." With shocking speed and power that wasn't my own, I grabbed the landlord by his frail neck and held him up, nearly crushing his throat as my scale spikes dug into his flesh. "And who are you to barge into my territory, my home? For this, you will die." A deep growl came from my throat. I had no control over my actions. I was a prisoner in my own mind. I felt my hand close around the landlord's throat until it exploded in an ocean of red, spilling all over my carpeted floor and the nearby walls. He was dead before he hit the floor. God, please no. I regained control again. I had no time to think. People will see this and call the police, and once they do, I will be killed on the spot. Forcing myself to move, I grabbed my laptop and phone and a nearby backpack and left for good. I planned to hide in the nearby sewers to avoid civilization. For now, I lived in the nearby sewers, abandoning my home, my friends, and all of humanity. This was my new home forever now, a life condemned to misery and a struggle to survive. I drank sewer water and ate cockroaches and rats to survive. On the news, the police discovered a crumpled man splattered on the ground with blood all over my apartment. I was an obvious subject, and the investigation pursued me for a long time, but nobody was able to find me or find any real concrete evidence, so the case eventually went cold. And I was never able to find any clues about that website or its company. It simply disappeared, and I accepted by now that I would never have answers. So if you ever hear something moving beneath the ground, it might just be a lonely, trapped monster.